We, tackled in a scrimmage situation. So, overall, I was pleased with the effort. First day, tackling was a little bit a hit or miss, which is what kind of what you expect when they haven't tackled for a long time. But overall, man, we've stayed healthy. We're having a good camp so far into it, and got a long way to go. We're still a work in progress, without a doubt. Nowhere near ready to play a game tomorrow. But with our group's effort and attention to detail, we're definitely headed in the right direction. So with that, I'll open it up.
Blake, with so many transfers and new faces, I mean, where are you at in terms of, is everything you want to do in place, and do all those guys, where you want them at as far as knowing the scheme and everything?
Yeah, I mean, and it's really been, that's a great question. It's really been impressive for the guys that weren't here in the spring. When you look at our volume of install compared to where we are in the spring, I bet we have, probably 3 times more than what we had in on the spring already, in day 5 or day 6, whatever day we're at. But I've been impressed with their attention to detail, and like I said, just picking up the scheme, because we have thrown a lot at them. It shows, the hard work they put in the summer working as a unit. It's paid off. So I have been impressed with them picking up what we're doing.
Like your base defense, what do you like about having 3 safeties on the field a lot of time?
For us, it just kind of fits what we do from a multiplicity standpoint. I think if you have that hybrid guy, he's big enough to play the run, but also fast enough to cover slots. So, that guy doesn't grow on trees. I think when you look at Martez and Dalen Cornell and some of the guys, Tyler Jones, that are in that role, they fit in nicely to what we do. So, kind of blessed with coming here with those guys having that type of ability.
Every offense is different, but does that system or personnel help you with the different kinds that you will see?
Oh, in my opinion, yes. Yeah. And there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. I've been around a lot of great defensive coaches that believe in something different. It's all about, in my opinion, as defensive coordinator, fitting your scheme to your personnel and playing to their strengths. We're looking to try to get the best matchups we can on the field.
Chad played a lot last year. Tyron, we've heard his name quite a bit, but depth-wise at linebacker, behind those guys, how do you feel about what you've got?
I feel good. I think when Devin Nicholson's had a bunch of starts here, he's definitely progressed. Chuck Hicks, he's had a great camp. He had a great spring. I feel good about where he's at, and Day Wilson, he's been a pleasant surprise. I think he's playing really, really well. I think he's changed his body over the summer and is one of the more improved players right now on our unit. So I'm proud of where he's at.
Playing 2 linebackers at a time, what's the number you want to go into week 1 with? Hey, I feel comfortable with this many guys are able to see the field if they need to.
You always want a pair plus 1, so I would say 5. That's kind of the goal, and then anything else is extra. In my opinion, it's bonus from a defensive side. Obviously, you want those guys with those body types and skill sets to be able to contribute mightily on special teams. So that's kind of how we look at it across the board. Obviously, you can only travel so many. Home games. They can get on the field even though they don't travel, but you got to look at it as a coach, like, okay, these are our 70, and how do those guys play? So you're always looking, in my opinion, for 2 deep plus 1. I believe college football, the way it's played nowadays, you got to have 22 deep. It's imperative, and that's at a minimum. So we really want 28 guys that we feel really solid about going into week 1.
Are any of the true freshmen that have come in, I've heard names like Xavier Simmons and Kamika Glass as being really talented young guys that have just come in. Do they figure into that 28 somewhere, do you think?
They could be. I think with the veterans that I just mentioned, that's probably going to be more of a special teams deal. But we're in day 5. They might blow the top off as they get more and more comfortable. They both have good athleticism, good instincts. So I don't want to just pencil it in and say this is where we're at on day 5. One thing that we've preached to this defense with as much quality depth that we have, man, there's no sacred cows. There's no safe spots. Everybody that we brought in, you've been brought in for a reason. Doesn't matter if you were a starter last year's gone. So to watch the competitiveness of this group, but they're striving together. When we say competitiveness, it's not I'm not going to tell my backup what I got going on. The cool thing about this unit right now is, man, they're striving together, and even though they might be competing for the same spot, they're still in it together. You see them still encouraging and helping each other out. So that's been a very big positive for us so far.
Coach, you have a pretty strong trio of defensive linemen, and Isaiah McGuire, Trajan Jeffco, and Darius Robinson. What has their senior leadership meant to the defensive unit, and how helpful has that been for you, as an introduction to the program?
Well, the first part from a leadership standpoint, those three guys in particular, when they say something, people listen. You know what I mean? They're physically imposing dudes, so that has been a tremendous help. But also they're setting the example. When you watch how they work and whatnot, it really brings the entire defense, and especially the young defensive linemen, up to the standard we want to be. And what was the second question? I'm sorry.
Just how helpful has that been, in getting to know the program, having those guys? I mean, Martez, obviously, another senior leader that has, vocal presence in the locker room. But how helpful is having that, as you try to make your own presence known as a leader in the locker room?
Yeah, I think they've been very helpful. I think they've been very receptive. I always say this scheme is defensive line user friendly, so I think they're appreciative of being able to kind of pin their ears back and get vertical from that standpoint. So those three guys have been awesome. They've come in, they've worked. They're yes sir, no sir, blue collar, and you can tell they want this defense to be great. It's not just about them. It's about this entire unit.
No, go ahead.
Spring practice to now, is there one area you feel like you've seen the most improvement?
Probably knowledge of what we're doing. And like I said, we really were very, very slow with our install in the spring. Wanted to really make sure they knew what we were doing from a base standpoint, and then from a fundamental standpoint as well. And to watch them be able to carry over the basic fundamentals and techniques. But then, like I said, we've installed a ton compared to where we were in the first week of the spring. And that work that they put in the summer is really, really paying off.
Is it easier for some of those older guys, given that they've had a bunch of defenses while they've been here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always easier for older guys because they've already kind of adjusted to the speed of the game. Not so much learning, 3 different defenses or whatnot in the last 3 years. I do think that probably helps a little because they can it's usually just different words, right? So it's learning a new language and they can relate it to what they called it in the past. And same as, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I think anytime you have a lot of experience and you look at some of the transfers that have a lot of experience that we brought in, they picked it up very quickly because I think they're used to the speed of the game.
I know measurables aren't everything, but what allows Jaden Jernigan to be effective at 280-ish, which is maybe on the smaller side of what a lot of guys at that position are?
Yeah, I think that's I think he plays to his strengths. I think his quick twitch, even though he is 280, 285, very strong. He's very physically strong at the point of attack. And then also, just being able to, once again, going back to the same question, understanding. He's played a lot of ball. He understands how to use his leverage, all right, but also how to use his skill set within the scheme. How to play different blocks. But he's a feisty little dude in there, man. I mean, he leaves it all on the field.
Like this, a little more of a big picture question, but in today's game in this league, is it a challenge to win at a high level if you're kind of more of a developmental program where you need to take a couple years to develop talent, whether you're not just replacing 5 stars with another 5-star? I mean, can that be done today?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's some teams on this side of the ball that you look at that would be considered a developmental program, and they're winning 9-10 games a year. So it's been proven it can be done. I think you got to do a good job evaluating talent, and then also a good job developing talent when you get here. And also not only talent but people. I think when you look at college football, a lot of the times everybody's talented. You usually miss because maybe they can't pick up a scheme like you thought they could, or maybe they're doing stuff outside of this building they shouldn't do. But usually, from a talent standpoint, I think you can definitely develop and win, consecutive year after year after year.
Is there anything unique about that developmental piece you've seen here in your short time that different, better, whatever than other places you've been?
You know, I would say that the biggest thing that's probably maybe a little different than the last couple of places I've been is guys are willing to continue to develop for their fourth and fifth year, and where maybe some of the other places I've been after 3 they're out. So that's probably been the you know, from a developmental standpoint, really the only difference.
Curious how much in, I guess, 6 months or whatever, you've heard from the guys who were here last year, a motivation because of the way last year went.
I mean, you can tell they got a chip on their shoulder. You know, but we don't talk about last year. And that's something that I came in on the first day. Last year's dead. What you did on tape, it doesn't matter to me because I don't want to come in with a preconceived opinion or notion that you're not going to be a good football player. You're going to be a really good football player. I think anytime you can come in and give the whole entire room a breath of fresh air, I think it makes everybody better. So I've always done that. Every job I've ever taken is made sure that last year what happened in the past has no bearing on moving forward. So we don't talk about last year.
Coach, I think this upcoming week is going to be your first toughness week. Is there anything you expect out of your unit?
I expect them to understand that even though one guy, you know, might have a bad day or feel like he's about to break, that the other guys in the room are picking him up. And to me, that's what this week's about. It's hard, you know. College football is not for everybody, but when you see that guy, especially the young guys, you know, that this is their first go round or maybe second go round, and then accepting the role once that comes, you know, down towards the end of the week, that don't let that guy break. Okay, it's everybody's job in this room to pick each other up. So I'm really looking for our cohesiveness to build, our you know, all in it together, you know, to really be strong at the end of this week.